Hey everybody, welcome to Bill Cox's outfit. We're gonna put this little fella right here. Okay, this is a OK Fixer. We're gonna put this body on this chassis. I hope. You cannot believe the amount of trouble I've had with this. Leaky fuel line, brakes that won't bleed. Leaky brake light switches, oil cooler leak, get it all back together again. Then a cylinder head stud leak. Yeah. So, anyways, I'm reaching my apex on there can't be anything else wrong with it. There can't be because everything's been it will. It'll fold in on itself or something. I don't know. Some kind of magic will happen. So, anyways, we're going to put this body on this chassis, I hope. And right now I'm working on well, let me show you. So you can't really tell, but Abner Dimwit had cut the wires off the end of the wiring harness, which is fine because these wires that go into the engine bay, they get hot and brittle, and the insulation starts to go south. So I've got a new wire going for my generator, a new wire for my oil pressure, and I'm trying to keep them in the same color. I need a black wire and a blue wire, or excuse me, a black wire and a brown wire. I've ordered some wire. It's coming along. Why don't you buy a new wiring harness? Well, why don't you send me a check for a new wiring harness? Okay. So, anyways, the wire that's underneath this sheathing is nice and supple and beautiful. It's just like this big, beautiful piece of magnificent copper wire that's going to go to my generator. It's just supple and beautiful. It's underneath that. And the German stuff, as long as it's soldered and heat shrunk really nicely, will work better than a new Chinese wiring harness. So I'm getting this wiring harness together because I have to put the wiring harness here, in there, before we put the body on the chassis. So I've got grommets I have to put on. I have taillights I have to put on. The wiring has to go on there. Then I have to power up that wire and make sure that my lights work. Because once you put you can't get to it. Well, you can, but you'll end up tearing everything up. So I've got some new grounds because the ground has, of course, gone by the wayside a long time ago. I put a new rubber in. That was delightfully fun. Sealed it up also with some urethane. Is there anything it can't do? Put a new rubber gasket around the deck lid. Put my hinge on. Line things up. And oh, isn't that beautiful? Doesn't that sound nice? Doesn't that sound nice when it shuts? Listen. Oh yeah, that's nice. I love it. So okay, let's get these on. And I'm still waiting on my wire, and maybe we can work on that wiring harness too. All right, we have our lights on. Our whatever they are, the brackets, the deals that hold the lights. Got our grommets in. I've got my ground attached, my brown to ground. There's an other ground that goes to another wiring harness that comes across here, so that's part of that. And then the ground for that side's on. Can't remember. I know the black is the backup, the brown is the ground. Gray, red, and blue. I think the blue is the stoplight. I think the gray is the parking light. And the red is the turn signal. Just a guess. Just a guess, but I think that's how it is. I'll have to look in the book. you want to make sure if you're using clear coat that you, this is a 4mm by 0.7 thread pitch. It's the same thread pitch of that little piece in the carburetor you screw in and you yank out, and the little balls underneath there. So your taillights will screw in easily. This is a 70 car, which is the last year of the small taillights, but it has 1 year only small taillights with reflectors, I think. I wonder if that goes like, yeah, I have to figure that out. But the reflectors go on there on the side, so we'll put those on. I think it's 1 year only on these. The smaller taillights, I think 71 and 72 had bigger taillights. They did have reflectors on the side, same reflectors, but the bezel was bigger. And then, of course, 73 went to the elephant style, the elephant footprint. Like that. This, I found out in the back garage, still has the harness on it. So the red is the top one. What would the top one be? That's going to be the running light. No, turn signal. Turn signal. Yep, definitely turn signal. Red light. Red is going to be the turn signal. The blue is the reverse light. The ground brown. And the black and the gray. Okay, so it's going to go like that. So the gray is going to go on the outside. Gray is going to go on the outside, provided that this is the correct side. I'll have to look and see if this is left or right. It should say on here. So I have 3 of these, and each one of them says 54 and 58, and then BL up here. 54, 58, 54, 58 BL. And then what does it say at the bottom? You can tell the ground because the ground is that right there. So it's going to be brown. This one, it should have a number on it. Should have a number. Let's see if I can find one. RF. RF. Let's see if that says RF. Does not, but it's kind of been scraped away. This does say RF. All right, let's have a look at the wiring diagram. There's also little bits of fossil evidence that say, they say brown and blue, and people was writing on these because it's been off before. Instead of looking at the wiring diagram and realizing that these all electrical connections on a Volkswagen are numbered, they put tape on them, and there's one of them that was marked red. Can't remember. One of them says red on it or something for the red wire. Yeah, right there. Right there. Red. You know, so let's look in the book. Okay, somebody has this wrong on that other wiring harness. There is our ground, and RF is blue. Remember RF at the bottom. 54 and 58 is going to be red and gray. So let's... that's going to be your parking light. And the red, I'll bet you goes to a brake light switch. It goes through a jumper to the other side. Here it's going to be black and red. To your brake light switch. Yep. So the red, which is going to be 54. 58 is going to be your parking light. Your turn signal is going to be black. Let's see, that ought to come off of the turn signal somewhere. What is that? K6. Emergency flasher. So it goes to your emergency flasher, which is part of your turn signal-ish thing. So the very top ones are going to be turn signal. This is going to be your brake light, parking light. This is going to be reverse light. And if you look, your blue turns to a black. That black harness right there into T3, that turns into that black harness that plugs into that switch on the back of your transmission, F4. Good. Okay, I'm glad we looked in the book, because whoever has this wired has it wired wrong. So let's fix that up. Okay, let's see what's in the box. Yay! Got some wire here. I got a spool of brown and a spool of black, and 16 gauge, a spool of brown and a spool of black, in 14 gauge, and I got a spool of 12 gauge black from Rock Auto. And this deck is pretty good. It's USA made with US and imported materials. So it's Chinese wire made in the USA. The thing about it is it's 100% copper, and it's got good PVC insulation on it. And on Rock Auto, it's cheap. Walmart stuff, or if you go down to O'Reilly's or AutoZone, it's Chinese. And I don't know about that stranded copper stuff, so I'm going to try to do the best I can and make this wiring harness as best I can. So, okay, we're going to take this black, and there's a heavy black wire here that looks exactly that 12 gauge, and so we're going to put that, and then we're also going to use some 14 gauge on that brown, and we're going to bring that out, and that's going to be our harness for our power to our coil and the ground to the generator. Generally, when I'm soldering something, I like to take both the wires and put them together like this, and then give it a twist to tighten it all up. That way each strand goes into the next, you know, kind of an inline thing. And that way you don't have a big booger, you have something nice and streamlined for your heat shrink to go over. Now I put 2 pieces of heat shrink on there. We'll plug this in. Now you say, oh, we're gonna have to wait for this to heat up. No. I've got some solder here, and I think I ordered it from Rock Auto, but it's 6337. It's like 6040 electrical solder. That's really fine stuff, but the only place you can find it is made in China, because we're no longer allowed to have lead. So we can have red dye number 5, and we can have all the pills you can swallow, but we can have Alaskan Thunderfuck to smoke, but you can't have any lead in your solder. So yeah. Anyways, okay, so I got that good and hot, And what I did is I kind of twirled that up several pieces there. And I like soldering. Soldering is, it's kind of zen. It's just, it's like, it makes you feel good when you get it really nice, when you do a really nice joint. And you need to go up underneath. You'll see it all flow in there. Get hot. There she goes. Yep. You see all that copper tin up really nice. Makes you feel good. Yeah, sure we don't have a big booger on the bottom here. I think all that solder went in there. Now, I soldered my whole roll to this, and I'll tell you why, is because a wire is expensive, so I can go exactly right to the coil, and I won't be wasting any. These other pieces that are long like this, these are scraps from another wiring harness. So it's not like I wasted everything. Everything seems to be really nice and joined very well. I got more red heat shrink, incidentally, by beautiful sets on Rock Auto cheap also. Rock Auto is just great. You can buy all this stuff really cheap. So I kind of incorporate some red in with the black because we don't have too many red wires we're soldering, and I like to finish my wiring harness in black because it's a little bit neater when it's all black. This is much better than, those butt connectors and stuff like that. This is a much better, cleaner, you know, that'll last for a long time there. And we'll put another piece on there. I don't for the life of me understand why Volkswagen has 12 gauge wire going to their coil. That's pretty heavy wire, but okay, you know, whatever. I would figure 14 would be able to handle it, but I'm going to go with the flow on this. So there you go. Yeah, and that's okay. There you go. And that's beautiful right there. All right, now I'm going to do the brown one also. Same way, I'm going to leave this spool out here. That way I can stream it out right to the generator. I'll know exactly where it is. Won't be wasting any wire. I've got a piece of wire and some duct tape. Oh, hang on, my big head's getting in the way, sorry. Sure doesn't like that. There we go. There we go. All right. Let me get inside and pull, which is easier said than done because I have to move everything. Okay, we got it through, but I have to come a little bit more this way, but I can't come a little bit more this way because I'm waiting on some heat shrink, some big heat shrink for this. So I'll need to come out a little bit, feed all these wires into that huge heat shrink, and then snug them up really nice. And then it can go back in. This little feller here got a little hot in the fire, melted, and it didn't do nothing, this little feller. We'll have to examine this. I kind of gave it a quick look. It didn't look like any of the wires were melted, but we'll give it a what for with some heat shrink. Also, that's going to go here and here, and then it's going to connect into that mess over there, and then this connects into there. But I swear there's another. There isn't. There might not be. I don't know. Let's see. No, there has to be one for the tail lights, or for the stop lights, because there's. See, that's a 3, and that is 4. So one of them, probably this one, goes along here with this to the blue wire, I think. Yeah, 'cause I found a wire, a little stretch of wire with a blue wire on it, I think, or yeah, a blue and a brown together, but I don't know why it needs a brown because it's already got a ground. Anyways, yeah, that's going to be for the stoplights because it's got 4. It's going to go across. Okay, really good. Okay, working on it. I gave these a what for with the wire wheel and a little silver paint, and taped them up so the electrical connections will go in there. I got some new Hella bulbs, some 56s and 57s to go in there, so we'll have new bulbs. Once we get the wiring harness in, I'll ground the body, and I'll put power to these wires and see that they light up. Then once they light up, I can put my lenses on. The lenses are, yeah, I might buy some cheap lenses for it, but those are original German ones, so don't know. Indeed, those are 70 only, because they have holes in them and they have the small lights. 68, 69, 70 had the holes in them. 71, 72 has the holes in them also, but they have a much bigger tombstone light. So 70 only. All this is preliminary. I want to check all my wires. I want to check all my bulbs and make sure that they're going to light up. So here's our reverse lights. There we go. And we got one over there too. Okay. So now we'll ground the chassis. Let's connect all these back up again. The original pieces that were on here, these plastic pieces, were all shrunk up and just brittle and junk. So I'm just using quick connectors on this because that's what Volkswagen used, quick connectors. I'll probably keep these original, these brass ones, and what I'll do is I'll just put heat shrink over them and kind of seal them all up, and they'll work just fine. So let me hook these up and this harness down there over to this side, and we'll get inside the car and we'll test these 3 bulbs. I know there's just 2 here, you see, but there is a filament here, filament there, filament there. One's for turn, one's for the brake light, one's for the running light. And we've seen that the reverse light works. So let's get after it. So I've got the wiring harness coming out and down here, and I've got the wires sorted that go to the rear. And I'm putting a battery charger on it, and there's my ground. And my parking light is not working. Now, I've put power to all of these, and they all light up, and there's power going to here. So the this gray wire here, or actually it's kind of a red and white wire, and that's how it comes out, is kind of, well, it's kind of, it splits there, but up front, and it turns into kind of like a gray and white. Anyways, it's there's something amiss. It's probably here, or it's probably here. So I'll have to figure that out, okay? But this is going to be our brake lights. Ooh, smoking. Oh, I love analog stuff. It just smokes. Okay, there's our brake lights. So our brake lights are good. Okay, and then we have, I showed you we did have a running light over there. Well, yeah, the running light's there. And then we have a left turn, and oh, that's, yeah, those are brake lights. Oh, and a right turn. So the only one that I'm concerned about is there isn't any power going from the parking light here, which comes down from there over to this side, and I've checked all these. Our ground is good also. So I'll probably end up doing, I'll have to sort that all out and look at it. It's highly possible what I'll do is I'll just rob that side and bring it over here and not worry about trying to find where it's damaged, because it doesn't matter. And then now that I know that this wiring harness, this goes all the way up to the front, is going to work, provide electricity to it, you know, to the length of the car, we can you know, make everything correct, and you know, insulate everything, and then we can put our engine firewall tar pad in. You want to make sure all the stuff is working right first before you go and do that, because there's nothing worse than having your engine here, your tar pads in there and stuff, and then your wiring, all of a sudden you've got some kind of skeezy wiring problem that you can't figure out, and you want to figure it out first. Battery charger is a good way to do it, but you know, I mean, you can use a battery too, but battery charger. And I just used my ground right here, and I think ground goes inside there. So okay, I was wrong. The parking light wire number 54 comes all the way up here. It's gray and black, and that's the one that that's this one right here. That's what this one right here. Believe it or not, 54 here does not tap into that. Instead, it turns into a red and gray wire. It's individually, there's 2 wires going for each running light. So I need to find the red and gray wire here for that parking light side. They don't split here and go from one side to the other. They use 2 wires going all the way back, one for each light. Isn't that trick? You don't know until you read, see? So let's find it. So red and, it's gonna be red and gray. Red and gray. To that fuse. Red and black, or excuse me, gray and black. There's the red and gray one. Let me get it on there. They have 2 different wires, one for the left and one for the right. How trick. There's a single wire going to the reverse lights that connect from there to there. And I'm going to leave a small pigtail out that plugs into there, and that way I would be able to disconnect that wiring harness, and then I will solder and heat shrink my black wires I have going to my transmission reverse light switch to this, and heat shrink, solder and heat shrink. So I'll only have one wire to solder and heat shrink when the body is in the, or the chassis is in the vehicle, or in the, you understand, when I get this all together. If you have difficulty, and I'm not going to leave just a wire going across there because it might chafe, so I'm going to put it in some heat shrink tubing. But trying to get a wire in a length of heat shrink tubing, if you use an old bow from the roof, you can kind of stick it through there and then work it back and forth, and you'd be able to get it in there. We're coming right along. I've got the ends heat shrunk in, stuck in there, and they're not going to ground out, so that's pretty good. I've got that repaired with some heat shrink. I do have some electrical tape underneath it, but that's just a like a little extra. Same with this, as I wanted to bring the wires all together as tight as I could so my heat shrink will go over it, but that's going to be fine. It's just like an extra little wrap there. So we'll put some heat shrink up on this. These wires here that are going to the generator and to the coil and whatnot like that, I'm not going to heat shrink anything on them. I'm just going to tuck them up out of the way, because we have still a spool of wire on there. Don't know how long they're going to need to be. So of course I don't want to waste heat shrink, and I don't want to waste wire. So let's continue this and we'll get it buttoned up. Oh, and I'm going to use one of these hooks. I put a lot of hooks on here, so I can use one set of hooks like going across like this to support my wiring harness, because this does not support the wiring harness. It supports the the firewall tar pad. Missing a tab down there. I think maybe what I might do is I might push that in, and then I might put a screw in there with a little washer or something, I think. I'm missing a tab here too, so. I'm guessing I can put a hole right about there for the wiring harness. And we'll have to look at our tabs, because our tabs are pretty long, so I might want to cut them down a little bit so they poke through a little easier. There's a tab coming through. There's one coming through. There's one. There's one. Let me get those pushed through, and then we'll peen them over. It's not going to be exactly the same as original. What are you going to do? Yeah, I'm using this Beetle rubber sealant. It doesn't set up, and because I'm going to use my old seal. So I'm gonna glue this on there, and then I'm gonna put another bead on, and then when I put my body on, it'll really come on down and get to squeeze on us. scallop. Tee hee hee. But just get another seal in. Nah. You know what you're gonna get? You're gonna get holes that aren't drilled right. It's gonna be too big, too high. It's not gonna fit right. It's on and on and on. So, you know, yeah, this will work just fine. Oh, look at that. Look at the beautiness of that. See, it worked for 50 years. Let it work for another 50 years. All right, there's about 10,000 things you got to look for when you're coming down. You want to make sure your engine's kind of centered. Make sure it's going to clear. Your wiring's out of the way. You never have the air cleaner or any hoses on it, of course. Those are just going to rip right off. You have to make sure that you don't get your steering shaft in a bind or it'll bend it. And there's one thing I forgot, especially with my situation. That stick shift is going to have to go. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let her down a little more. I really have to get the bolts in the right place, lined up. Mounting bolts. This body didn't like mounting to this chassis very well last time. It does, you know, everything fits, but it's really tight. Okay, I heard some noise back here. What do we got going on? Everything's okie dokie. Yeah. And pull our spark plug wires up out of there. There you go. Got our Napoleon's hat. I think I know what we're hanging up on. Probably bending the crap out of it too. Nope, not yet. Let's see here. Okay, man, they're right under it too. Need to go back just a tick on this. Just a little bit. That's about right. Sure those hoses are going to be out of the way. Okay, well, I'm going to hang up and work. Hey! With my lift, I had to take off my parking brake as well as my shifter, so yeah, what are you going to do? Putting the cart before the horse a little bit. But it's all right. Gotta make sure my rubber gasket's tucked in. I got just a little bit more to go. Things are looking okay there. Let's put plug wires are out of the way. We got a good seal. We'll have to lip it over there. It's not quite, I can see daylight over there, but you got to get up underneath and lip the little onto the tin. The back looks really nice. All right, let's see, let's put that down. Let's see how our, this is all right. Okay, I got a screwdriver in there for my alignment for my bolts. And on the other side also. And let's see where we are here. Come over just a tick. All right. That's about right. Okay. There's no rag joint here to hold us up, so I think we're good there. We'll come down slow and have another look at that. I think all our weight's off. Let's see where we're at. Oh yeah, that's really good. Okay, we're not hanging up there. That's really good. Okay, you might be able to pick it up and kind of shift the body over just a tick. In the back, there's rubber little bushings. And yes, I put the little rubber bushings in there. Gee, how come you're not using new rubber bushings? Nah. Use the old ones. Okay, I'm not going to tighten them up all the way because I might need to move it just a little bit. I'm going to take and put those on, and I want to get a couple of bolts back here too. And if I can do that, then I'll be done. So let me get these carts out of the way because these are down all the way, and get the landscape timbers out. Yay! Coming right along. All right, well, there you go. Got 4 bolts in the back and 2 in the front right now. I'll probably loosen them all up, and so I can get a bar up underneath and kind of move things around and stuff before you go and tighten everything. Got the 2 up front here to do, the 2 in the back, and then all the ones along the bottom. So I'm not going to bore you with that because it's a long, tedious, nasty. Yeah. All right. Thanks for wrenching with me, and come back again. I'm sure I'll have a lot more videos on this. All right. See you guys later. Okay, the engine's in the back. It's going to have to come this way. So this is going to have to be turned around. I need to sweep that. one more. Forgot. Well, there you are. Ta-da!